Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, it's the Weekender on CNBC TV18. Tell you what, the Indian consumer has come a long way from haggling over prices at a Kirana store to actually thronging when IKEA opens. So to discuss that, we have a very special guest today. He's a person who was among the early founders of a business that eventually turned out to be D-Mart, facilitated the growth at Future Retail and currently is the CEO at Reliance Retail. Not just that, he also writes books and he calls himself the supermarketwala, Mr. Damodar Mall. Hi, Mr. Mall. You are at a supermarket right now.
Hi.
You've been observing a lot of things. What is it that you're observing right now?
Well, I've been running supermarkets for 18 years and now we are at a Reliance Smart store. What I'm seeing in my consumers in the last few quarters, in these couple of years, I've never seen before. Their response to everything that we are offering is just one notch superior than it was ever before.
So you would say we're at the inflection point?
So there are clear signs that we are at that inflection. We are nearing that inflection point, and the best lies ahead.
All right, the best lies ahead. The viewers want to know what the best is. On that note, let's sit and talk. What do you make of the frenzy that people saw when IKEA's first store opened? There have been videos all over.
Oh, I'm enjoying this is the celebration of new aspiring India that is open to these new festivals that are created by retailers like this.
What does this tell you about the Indian consumer?
They're very curious. As incomes increase, people are curious and people are learning gradually. So learning to get their guard down.
All right, Mr. Mal, so let's turn the clock back and let's rewind. You earlier worked at Hindustan Unilever. So let me ask you, from an FMCG company perspective, how is selling at a modern trade channel different from selling at a regular wholesale or perhaps mom and pop store channel?
The Kirana channel, I call them my professional grandfathers. Yeah, that's where we learn from. Is the most convenient demand servicing channel.
Right.
If you know what you're buying, then it's the fastest way to get it delivered to you. But if your incomes are growing and if from an FMCG brand portfolio perspective, if you're launching new aspiring products, then you need a place to celebrate that new choice.
Right.
If you are a Haldirams, if you're doing namkeens,
Right.
then in a Kirana store, the choice list will end at item number 5 or 6.
Completely.
In our store like this, we would start at item number 40 and celebrate it. So as choices increase, the brands also want places that run this monthly Swayamvar where people can come and pick and choose, and brands gain and how.
What was the thought that made you believe that this is here to stay? Remember a couple of years, just about 20 years ago, you were with Mr. Damani at Alibag?
Yes. Raigad Bazaar, Alibag, yes.
Tell us a little about that story.
And before that, I think the
germ of the idea.
The penny dropped for me actually when I was sent on a project to Brazil by Hindustan Lever that time. And that's the first time I saw in an emerging market, a place where there was disparity of incomes, place where there were people were frugal and simple, also modern trade prevailed. And then I came back and that idea stayed, because till then one had seen these supermarkets only in European context. And then we saw cooperatives like Apna Bazaar, with whom we started.
So how did you come in touch with Mr. Damani?
Well, he's a part of the community and extended family. So when I had that idea, I just crafted it and went to him. And
so in a sense, you were the entrepreneur who started a supermarket chain which eventually got taken over by Mr. Damani, and it is D-Mart right now?
In today's language, yes, he would be called the angel investor in a venture that I had proposed. And then we learned it together, and then he went on to scale it. And how? You
never wanted to be there, is it?
Well, I always wanted to be there. It's a venture that I created on my own, but that's life for you. I think it's a matter of great satisfaction and pride that the model as it was crafted together by two of us playing entrepreneur has stood the test of time.
Well, you're not just the pioneer of D-Mart, you also facilitated a lot of growth at Future Retail, and now you're heading the grocery division at Reliance Retail. So, in a sense, you are the hero of Indian modern trade. Let's talk about the Future experience then. How was that, and how is that different from the D-Mart experience?
There's one thing we often miss in discussions like this is if you're talking about things that are 7 or 8 years apart, you're actually talking about a consumer with double the income on an average.
That's true.
If you've been running, if I've been running a Reliance Fresh store in a neighborhood for 8 years, nothing that happened 8 years back is relevant today because everybody's incomes are close to double at least, and therefore the game keeps changing. So the thrill continues.
So let's talk about individual personalities then. How is Mr. Damani as an entrepreneur, as a driver of the business different from Mr. Biani?
Oh, I've worked with multiple entrepreneurs. I've been one myself.
Right.
And each one is different. Each one is completely different. It won't be...
The thing that you learned from Mr. Damani was?
From him was, it takes you 10 things to run a full business. But wisdom lies in picking up a couple of them. And on those things, being absolutely the best in the market. On other 8 things, you could be average, and it's okay. We just insisted that we keep the model very, very extremely simple. Saying everybody will be liberal, everybody will learn, and that simplicity worked for us.
And Mr. Biani, the thing that you learned from him?
His imagination, nothing is out of scope. And the surprise, the very instinct about the customer, even when he's talking numbers with you, is a thing that surprised me all the time.
Give me an example of that.
He would go to our Kandivli store and come back, and in a Monday review where all like-for-like sales numbers are discussed, he would come and say, I don't think the Maharashtrian customer is still shopping with us. And we have to make a difference because you have to be an inclusive retailer. And none of us would have classified our customers by ethnic and community profiles, and we would rush in to figure out and know that that's true. And things like this would come to him naturally.
All right, so on that note, we'll take our first little short break, come back, we take this point forward and discuss how to be a supermarketwala. In conversation with the supermarketwala, Mr. Damodar Mall, tell us a few observations that you made while you were in your early days and the observations that you make even now, a few of them.
For each store of ours, whether it's Reliance Fresh or Reliance Smart, the top 3 ethnic communities in the catchment are mapped.
Okay.
And we find that when you take top 3 ethnic communities in that catchment, by the time you finish the third, you've already covered 85% of the population.
Okay.
So what it means is I have to learn that the variety of rice that I keep in a Ghatkopar store is different from the variety of rice that I keep in a Mira Road store. And that is different from a Thane store. And it is that tuning in, the festivals that we celebrate in the stores also have to tune in to that. So we know that there are 12 stores of ours in Bangalore, which very soon will celebrate Onam at the front of door during the Onam days, because we know the community profiles of those stores.
So, and that is what makes India so much more difficult?
Yes, it makes it more difficult, more complex, but when you get it right, that becomes a competitive advantage.
Do you think it will be very difficult for a Walmart or a Costco, Tesco, Carrefour, or perhaps even IKEA to really understand the Indian consumer?
Well, more so in food.
Okay.
A fair bit in fashion. If you don't know the nuances of regional differences in India, you would find it difficult to succeed.
What is it that will give them an edge? I will give you an example. When I was reading your book, the one thing that I noticed was you said that a good researcher will look at the store, but a great researcher will look at what the cart has.
Yes.
Tell us a little more.
You study the pitch and you study the stadium and the weather report before the game begins.
Right.
Looking at shelves is like studying the stadium and the pitch. When the game begins, when the first ball is bowled, then attention is where the game is happening. In a store like this, the game is played in the trolley, and you can tell if the woman of the house is working. You can tell if how many children are at home. Is there a senior citizen at home by just looking at the trolley of the customer? There is a lot of meaning that resides in the trolley. So that habit is always a magical habit to pursue.
So I'll ask you the magic question then. What is the secret ingredient of a successful modern retail outlet in India?
So like I said, this is the first generation self-service consumer. Therefore, she is very forgiving. I always say to people with whom I discuss supermarkets, etc., I said, in the catchment that you want to set up your store in, ensure that you are just a couple of steps ahead of the customer.
Okay.
In India, if you try and pitch your offering too far ahead of the customer, she says, you go your way, I go my way. Aspiration and upgrade is a ladder up. Just work on, use abundance, use imperfection to reduce the perceived size of the height of the ladder, and the consumer will walk with you. In the Reliance Retail avatar of mine, the kick of scaling, where science comes in, where what you have cracked in the 5 pilot stores, how do you say, now I'm ambitious, I will take it to 300.
So let's talk about the Reliance retail venture itself, the Reliance retail business. It's a behemoth. Last year it did revenues of close to around 70,000 crores. This first quarter itself is done 26,000 crores. Even if you remove the fuel as well as Jio SIM cards, it's done about 13,000. Where does this behemoth go from here?
In Reliance system, we say there are no target allocation, there is ambition allocation.
What is your ambition?
No, so the ambition is, are you stretching for what looks out of reach? And when you reach there, the stretches increase. I think that's the DNA. Growth is life is the DNA of Reliance Group. And like I said, as we've got the models right, each of the formats have independently made their mistakes, crafted their model well, and now have earned the ambition. In the context, in the playground in which I play, size is never discussed as something to be worried about.
Various analysts on the street, they have Reliance retail revenue aspirations or expectations by FY20 anywhere between 1.5 to 2 lakh crore rupees. Do you think that's achievable?
Like I said, I don't even worry about the numbers, because the day that becomes achievable, we will challenge ourselves for the next. And there is empirical evidence of how in hindsight we do impossible things.
What is it that will lead to the growth of this business? And in that, what is it that will lead more growth? Is it the foods? Is it lifestyle? Is it consumer electronics?
None of these are dependent or interchangeable. The ambition, like I said, the ambition earning by each of the verticals has been independent, and we are all running a race against ourselves to grow.
And you guys are chasing just revenue right now, or margins as well?
Oh, it's both. I mean, it's all viable, profitable. The first, like I said, first you get the model right. The model right means you got to get the consumer model right, and you got to get the business model right at the same place. Magic happens when consumer model and business model meet at the same place.
So there are levers for further margin expansion.
There will always be, and yes, that'll keep happening. But
and will you all do the retail IPO anytime soon?
Well, it's a speculation that you and I can do together over coffee.
All right. On that note, we'll take a short break. Come back. We discuss more with the supermarketwala himself. Welcome back. Still in conversation with Mr. Damodar Mall. Earlier, we thought it was the brick and mortar. Then it became click, and now it looks like it's click and mortar. So omni-channel is the way to go.
In the post-Jio era, anybody shopping at a supermarket, the definition of customer is a human being and a smartphone, never separated.
Okay.
Now, when we imagine customer as this entity, which is a human and a smartphone fused always, it opens up possibilities like the customer can ping my store and say, I'm going to come and shop half an hour later. The store knows things that she normally buys and can suggest those things to her, and she can say, yeah, I'm on the way, but yeah, just keep my trolley ready with these 6 items, and then I will start shopping. I think we have only started imagining the possibilities that will unfold as we go along. So, if I am a supermarketwala, it is only natural that by the year 2020 I will be a significant super app wala as well.
Okay.
And I have a head start because I have this 550 points of presence as Reliance Retail in grocery, retail, and we have a cash and carry significant presence with Reliance Market as well. I have that starting advantage. On top of it comes in my avatar of super app wala.
You have total around 8,000 touch points as we speak.
Across the board.
Across the board. So
any category can flow at any.
you are
touch
targeting
point.
what by?
If I am a super app wala who's starting from e-commerce, how do I play the other side of the game? We don't have those many examples there. So I think because the consumer is both physical and digital seamlessly, I think all businesses, not just supermarket businesses, will have to learn to be like that.
Does real estate limit the expansion of a supermarket?
No, there is frenzy when there is hyper expansion, demand supply mismatch when it happens. But these are also markets, and equilibrium happens. I think it's an equilibrium which has got established. People have made their mistakes, but on the whole, we are now.
So what do you think is a better model?
Well.
Is it owning the land that you have your store on, or is it leasing the land that you have your store on?
I would say both, and we at Reliance Retail do a mix of these. When you lease, it gives you flexibility and speed. When you own, it gives you stability, but it anchors you to your mistakes, which are difficult to get out of.
What I'm trying to understand is, from Reliance's perspective, of course, yes, and from also the perspective of, say, something like a D-Mart and Future Retail. D-Mart is someone who's at one end of the extreme. The other one is Future Retail, which has most of its stores which are leased.
I don't find merit in being dogmatic about one way or the other.
Okay.
I think the catchment, the opportunity.
What's the mix in Reliance right now?
It's a fair mix. About a third of our stores are owned or in our these things. I think so. The bigger stores we tend to do a mix of them. So I think for us mix works better rather than being dogmatic about one way being right.
So the 4,500 odd grocery plus consumer lifestyle, consumer electronics and lifestyle stores that you have, does that become 10,000 by the end of say 2020?
Well, I tell you one thing. We are sitting in August. In this month, this Reliance Smart format where we are having this chat, we would be adding 10 stores this month.
Okay.
So. And that's the batting rate of 2 stores per week that we have exceeded now.
Is competition getting tough?
I think the opportunity is getting bigger and juicier for everybody. We are competing with each other, but we are dividing the pie in an ever-expanding pie. For a generation, I think it's going to be an ever-expanding pie. So nobody will be a net loser, is my point of view.
So do mom and pop stores die at the end of it all?
No, they don't. They upgrade. They become a tad more modern. Entrepreneur retailers will remain, and we, with our Reliance Market business, which is a wholesale business that feeds into this, and with our Geo ecosystem, we actually wish to participate and partner with the entrepreneur retailers.
So how big is the Indian modern retail trade right now? 3 years from now, where do you see it? And 3 years from now, where do you see Reliance as a pie, a share of that pie?
So, this is what I learned from one of the global consumer product CEOs, and he said, everybody talks about supermarkets and their ratio, their share in the large metros and small towns and total market. He said the correct way to look at this is you are servicing, as modern trade, you are servicing 60 million plus consumers now in India. And these 60 million consumers on an average have 2.5 times per capita income of India.
Okay.
That makes it as juicy, as interesting a market as say Thailand. And in his words, he said, in Thailand, I have a country head, and I don't have a country head for Supermarket India. I think that's the way to approach it. We are significant, and I think with our, especially with the tougher part of supermarket retailing, which is fresh produce, the work that we have done on fruits, vegetables, and fresh foods, we believe we have a significant head start and competitive advantage as the consumer changes. We've never operated in any sector without a significant chunk of the playground for ourselves.
I remember this because the earlier part of Reliance's retail venture, the Vimals, and the earlier part of Reliance Fresh did not do too well. The second coming, you guys are sure about growth?
Oh yes, like I said, not just us. Everybody made their mistakes. Everybody learned. We are first generation. All of us supermarketwalas in the market today. We might be coming from big industrial houses and business houses, but we are first generation supermarketwalas. Everybody has made their mistakes, learned their model, and
so now they're all
stronger.
in it to win it.
So now it's about appetite and ambition that the customer, Indian consumer has always been ready. Okay. We have to get our house right, and we are very confident in all parts of Reliance retail business, including our fashion and digital business, that we got our act right. Now is the time to change gear and move forward.
Before we let you go, we have to ask you about the democracy that a supermarket brings.
There are very few public places in India that are clean, comfortable, well-lit, and completely non-discriminatory towards people. There is either an entry barrier or there is a poor quality of service and experience that is offered. People from any background, nobody is judging anyone. Any background can come, try out these products, reject. I would say in a passive manner, our Bollywood movies do that, but then you are sitting in dark and enjoying that inclusive experience. Our trains as a system, the Indian Railways as a system is that way and all-inclusive, and the railway bench is probably a quintessential example of being completely neutral and inclusive. I think in the modern day answer to some of these non-judgmental, inclusive, and very good quality experiences in public spaces is today's supermarkets.
All right, I think, if Harivansh Rai Bachchan was alive right now, he would be compelled to write a Madhushala on supermarket saying Mandir Masjid Bair Barhati, Prem Barhati Madhushala. That would have been supermarkets.
Well, you make a very interesting parallel. Nothing as exciting as Madhushala for us.
Mr. Mal, it was an incredible time speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
I enjoyed myself. Thank you.